has joined the show.
Do the monkey with me.
Has joined us here at Online Big Blue because you know why? 1, 2, 3. Wait there. Hope everyone
Do the monkey with me.
weekend here. It's Giant football coming up. That's it. So you know what, Rob? We got Giant football coming up. We got the game coming up on Sunday. Next Sunday.
We do.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Truckosaurus. Sunday. We got the vaunted Cowboys coming in here. We do. We're ready for them.
Fuck the Cowboys.
It's the most important game of the entire season. We all know this. We have Jesus Freak saying, so the G-Men have a new rookie corner. Do we have a new rookie corner? Did we sign somebody that I missed?
Not that I'm aware of.
There's a possibility, maybe. Zach, Google, I can see the Zach attacks here in the room. Zach attack, Google to see if the Giants have a new rookie corner. I don't know. Guys, Rob is a Cowboy fan. Zach Attack is also back in Jersey, so we're happy with that. We got James Williams coming. Salute Rob, salute Tim, salute Chad. Daniel Son, not it's preseason. This is for real. If Colorado can beat TCU, we have better beat Dak at home after 4 years drought. Let's go. And the Zach Attack says he is back in Jersey. I was thinking. All right, here's the thing. I'm gonna give you a couple things we can talk about right off the bat.
Okay.
Should we talk about Mike Evans? Should we talk about the practice squad first? Or should we go right into the Cowboys?
I think the Cowboys should be last.
Okay.
I think the Cowboys should be last. Let's deal with let's get the elephant out of the room.
Let's just get Mike Evans out of the room. It ain't happening.
We'll talk about Mike Evans.
It's not happening.
If DeAndre Hopkins wasn't happening, Mike Evans ain't happening.
He's got a $21 million dead cap hit in Tampa. He's got 2 dead cap years in 2024 and 2025 for Tampa right now because they did the same thing what the Giants did with Leonard Williams. They extended out one of their bonuses to get some salary cap relief. And the Giants right now without the rule of 51 with the 53-man roster have anywhere between $900,000 and $1.1 million under the cap. And you're going to go for a 30-year-old, soon to be 31-year-old wide receiver.
Yeah, he just turned 30.
He just turned 30, but he's going to be turned 31 next year too.
Yeah, in August. Yeah, next August.
You are going to go after and get this guy, and I don't think Tampa's just going to give him away because he's under contract this year. If Baker Mayfield plays well enough, they have a good enough skill set on the offense, and they still have a defense where they can be competitive in their division.
Yeah, I think that Mike Evans is a move for a team that's like ready to compete, right? You know, like the Bills, you know, the Chiefs, you know, Chargers, even the Ravens. It wouldn't surprise me if, the Ravens, I think, like their wide receiver core, you know, but it's a team that's like ready to compete now. Another team I could see potentially maybe doing it if like Jordan Love plays well this year and they need help at the wide receiver position, you know, they could make the trade. Or even the Detroit Lions. Jameson Williams is not going to be playing, you know, for a good portion of the year. You know, do they bring in Mike Williams? You know, so I understand, you know, Ryan Dunleavy, you know, posting it, and it would be interesting, you know, and don't get me wrong. I think we'd all be ecstatic if they made the trade and somehow were able to make it work. I just don't see it.
It's not.
I just don't see it happening.
Tampa is going to wreck their cap for the next 3 years if they make this trade, because they are going to be stuck with 2 dead cap years without a player. But
isn't there cap fucked now anyway?
But that's the point. It's going to just keep getting worse. They can get salary cap relief if they re-sign Evans and they take some of those dead cap years and some of that dead cap money in 2024, 2025 and roll it back into a new contract.
Yeah, but at what point, like for a guy like Evans, right? He won a Super Bowl there, right?
Yeah, but
with Brady, like at what point though he means a lot to Tampa because I have a lot of friends that live in Tampa. I know Tampa. I know a lot to Tampa.
He is a pillar in that community. He is a pillar on that team. He has come out on numerous occasions and said he does not want to leave Tampa. He wants to finish his career in Tampa. His agent has set a deadline of September 9th for them to get a new deal done. but it's not going to happen. Like I said, this is a guy that's so ingrained in that Tampa community. I think there would be a shock and awe if he was moved on from by the Buccaneers.
Do you see them getting a contract worked out?
I think they get a contract worked out, but I don't think they get it worked out until maybe first couple of weeks into the season. I don't think Tampa's going to blink with this September 9th deadline because they have him under contract this year.
Now, he said that he wouldn't play, correct?
I did not see that he would not play.
I'm trying to figure out. I can't remember if he said that he wouldn't play or if like the deadline and then he just didn't want to. No, not that he didn't play. He said that I think if it's not done by the 9th, then he's going to just test the open market. He doesn't want to sign another contract.
But that's fine though, because everyone says that. Yeah. Saquon Barkley said he's not coming in the camp. Saquon Barkley said he's never going to sign. He may never sign the tag, and he doesn't want to fuck over his teammates. But he's not. It's you know what? I always say this. No one knows a financial situation of an NFL player, and just like anyone else's financial situation doesn't have to be an NFL player. You don't know what their situation is.
Yeah,
so they could say one thing, but their bank account could say another thing.
Yeah. Now, just for shits and giggles here, chat. Let's just say in the off chance the Giants do make this move, right? How do you think, Tim, it would impact the team having Mike Evans on the roster? Because I think the wide receiver room, to be honest, even though it's lacking like a talent like Mike Evans, it's pretty full right now with guys that you want to get the football and that you want to see what they're going to be able to do. Hyatt, Campbell.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing right off the bat, though, before we even get into that. If you do an Evans trade, you have to redo so much of your salary cap because you only have between $900,000 and $1.1 million under the cap right now. You're going to have to fit $15 million underneath the cap because Tampa's not going to eat any of that money. Why would they? That'd be stupid for them because then if they trade him, they got a $21 million dead cap number.
Yeah,
off this guy. So the Giants would have to probably redo Leonard Williams' contract, which they don't want to do. Redo Adoree Jackson, which they don't want to do. Shane has already come out and said he is not going to even talk to Xavier McKinney about a contract until after the season.
Yeah,
he does not seem to be in the mode right now of, hey, let's add this big name salary. Let me wreck my cap this year so I don't have any maneuverability if injuries do occur or the offensive line goes to shit. Let's not do any, and that's what kills me with fans. Let's not do any of that. Let's just bring in Mike Evans and hope that our guards hold out. Let's hope Evan Neal plays well. Let's hope there's no injuries. Let's just hope all those things.
Yeah, like I know that it's been floating around, which I think it's a possibility where they may do something with Daniel's contract, maybe convert some of it to like a bonus or something like that to free up some money.
They would not convert any of that contract money until 2024.
That's the only other thing. I mean, just from us talking like in spaces, it's either Leo, Adoree.
It's got to be
both. Or they do something with Daniel Jones. It's those three options. And I don't see them touching Daniel, not this early.
Well, Daniel's contract's only like $19 million this year.
Correct. Yeah. If they were gonna do something with him, if they were gonna do something like that with Daniel, I could see them doing it like next year, maybe. Right. I could see them doing it next year, not the same year you gave him a contract. But yeah, I mean, like you're gonna have to redo one or both of Adoree and Leonard Williams. And you've been saying it, I've been saying it. I don't think he wants to because they would have done it already. I think they would have done it already. Now, he did say in his little press conference that this is the week where, they're going to look at their situation and figure out what they need to do and whatnot. So
his exact words were, we need to come up for air, and then we can start taking a look at exactly what we need to do.
Which means like they need to take a breath, take a break and reset.
It could be 3 weeks into the season because he also said we don't know what this team is going to be for a couple weeks into this season.
Yeah.
So I think if Daniel Jones's contract right now, he's only counting for $21 million against the cap, and he's got an $82 million dead cap number, but he's only counting against $21 million. He's got the
they could take $10 million of that and convert it to a bonus.
you can only convert so much of a contract to a bonus. I forget the exact parameters, but it's because if that was the case, then everyone in the league would just convert salaries into bonuses.
True.
There's a certain percentage contractually that you can convert bonus wise. Because if that was the case, they would just take Leonard Williams and convert all of his money because it's guaranteed anyways. Convert it to a bonus and save the salary cap. I forget the parameters. I have to look it up.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I'm just thinking like if you're looking at it from a perspective of like who would you rather convert money for? Obviously, I think 100%, 100 times over, I would say Daniel Jones because the likeliness of him being here is greater than Leonard Williams.
Well, Leonard Williams is gone next year.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Like the likeliness of him coming back, like even if he hits the open market and coming back is less. At least for what we know, Jones is going to be here. His contract is for 4, so he's going to be here at least for 2 years. So, or 3. So that's where I would be with it. But I just don't. Going back to the Mike Evans thing.
32% of the contract is max that you can convert to a bonus. Thank you, Zach. I couldn't remember the number.
Okay. I don't know what his percentage of his contract is converted to bonus now, but back to the Mike Evans thing for a second. Like, yes, he's a great talent. Don't get me wrong. I think he's had 9 or 10.
You'd be able to convert $6 million of Daniel Jones' contract into a bonus.
Okay. So, which gives him a little bit of relief, right?
Well, I think it means they would only have $7 million in total.
Correct. Yeah.
And Jones and Shane has already said he wants $10 million in operational
in operational money. Yeah, correct. 100%.
So we need 17. We would need to convert Jones and still need 17 plus million.
The other thing that I think that they could do, which I don't think that they will either, they could also like add a year for Mark Lewinsky and try to free up some money there.
Yeah, like, I saw that contract. That would be bad.
That wouldn't be good. But that's like if you don't want to touch Leo, and you don't want to touch Adoree, and right now your depth on all line is dog shit anyway. And at least at bare minimum, Glowinski is a good swing guard for next year, right? Because I think this is the last year of his contract. Or they can cut him after this year and whatnot. I would do that. Like I could see them doing that and having him like for an extra year for like a swing. And I think they could probably free up a few $1 million that way. And there's your $10 million. But I think like right now, Mike Evans, I think holds the record for the most consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. I think he has like 10. So he's a great player. And I compare
Lewinsky is only a dead cap number of 1.5 next year at a cap hit of 7.2.
Yeah, so the dead like that's nothing. Like they would cut him at that point. They'd eat that 1.5 million, and then
that's what I'm saying. You wouldn't do his contract because you're just going to cut him next year and only be at 1.5.
Well, yeah, I'm basing it off of this year. Like if they wanted to extend to free up money from him this year, would it make sense?
You have to remember next year we already have almost $10 million in dead cap space from just the Leonard Williams and Adoree Jackson restructure bonuses.
True.
So we can't keep pushing because right now, like I said, my numbers, we have 37 active contracts. My numbers of estimated cap space with everything is, and there's a lot of things they can do to increase this number, is around like 44.5 million.
I thought we had like 58 million with like 40 something players on their contract.
You have to remember there's contracts that you have contracts that are current. Here's the problem that people make. They're estimating that number, but they're not understanding that these other contracts are still on the roster. These are active contracts on the roster. Like if you get rid of Darius Slayton, let's just say, you're saving $6 million, right? Right off the top. Mm-hmm. If you get away from Glowinski, then you're saving another $6 million. If you're moving on from a couple other players, yes. So you can move that number up, but if you actually take the physical contracts that are available to this roster in 2024, it's about $44.2 million in estimated cap space without Saquon Barkley's contract. You have to remember you have a $45 million cap hit next year for Daniel Jones, which is which is almost 19% of your total cap. And then you have the 10% almost for Andrew Thomas, another 10% for Dexter Lawrence. So you have close to 38% of your cap tied up into 3 players. Now you also have to remember the Darren Waller number will probably go away as well, which is a $13 million cap hit.
Now they converted his money to next year too, a little bit, didn't they not?
They converted some of his money next year as well. So the cap, if people are looking at this, you need to look at the actual total physical contracts that are still on this roster, not what you're projecting the Giants to do next year, because we have no idea what Shane's going to do next year with these contracts anyways.
Yeah.
So
no, absolutely.
I just go off of facts.
Yeah. No.
I mean, so if you look at the contracts right now, you have about 44.2 million under the cap next year. And don't forget, that does not include if you're going to bring back Saquon Barkley.
Correct. Which they could tag him again if they wanted to. Right. I think the tag is like 12 million or something like that. But
and like I said, you could probably get up to 60 by making a lot of moves, but I can't tell you what Shane's going to do next year. So I'm not gonna prognosticate with
facts
until
I think like with the Mike Evans thing. Look, I think would I love it? Yeah, I would definitely love having Mike Evans on here. He's a pros pro. He wants to win. He's a competitive person. They that's a big reason why they love him in Tampa is what he does off the field, his competitiveness on the field. But he is a guy that will he'll throw hands for you. Like he is a bought in guy when he's there, right?
He's a guy that plays hurt. He's got the willingness and he is. Yes.
I don't think he's really missed a lot of time in his career due to injury at all.
He hasn't missed a lot of time, but he has had some nagging injuries
that have affected his play, but he's out there. He's a tough kid. He's a tough guy. Like he'll go out there and he'll grit it out. He wants to be on the field.
Yes.
So from the player's perspective, chat, I think that it would be a great addition. I don't necessarily know how he will be used. Maybe in that Isaiah Hodgins role, right? But he's definitely a number 1 wide receiver. But I feel like, to me, and I brought this up the other day, I feel like we already have that with Darren Waller. Like what Mike Evans would bring for you, we have Darren Waller, but he plays tight end.
He played.
But he played wide receiver.
Right. Evan Ingram plays tight end too. Okay. Just because you're labeled as something doesn't mean that's what you play. And that's why I would say about Mike. I mean, with Darren Waller, I see him playing. I see him playing so many different positions.
Jones to Waller, first down.
I see him playing so many different positions.
Yeah, I think they're going to move Waller around quite a bit this year, and we can get into that too when we start talking a little bit more, of the game. But look, to wrap it up with the Mike Evans thing, not going to happen. Would I like it? Absolutely, would love it. 100%.
Zach says, and of course, all super chats go to Philadelphia Children's Hospital. Zach says DJ won't target Evans, i.e., Slayton, and these smooth sounds of Kenny G. Has anyone seen Kenny G?
No.
I mean, seriously, has anyone really seen?
I think he's probably done. I think he's probably I think that hip injury. Maybe he spends a season to recover. Maybe he tries to come back next year. I don't know.
I just you gotta just love the guy. Yeah, you gotta just love the guy. And I see one person said that the cap is supposed to go up 25 million. Projected cap projection is 256 million this year. No, I'm sorry. The projected cap in 2024 is 256 million, and projected to go up to 282 million in 2025. And actually, those numbers I gave you were with the projected cap increases.
Okay.
So, but I didn't know that. I don't have this written down.
You not knowing?
That's impossible. Let's go through a bunch of these because we're getting way behind here as always. My mouse is not working. Come on, Mr. Mouse. Let's see here. Also, Evans wants a new contract. Yeah, we talked about that. Zach, Vinny also said, "Yo, Tim, it's been a while." Yeah, Vinny G, where have you been? Let's see what happens with Hyde and Campbell before we make a move following for a number one wide receiver. I don't want Evans. Chris, and I agree with that. Mike Evans won't happen, says Chris. We got the two-toe coming in, massive super. Respect to the big boss, Robin, Tim, and all diehard Giant fans in America. They got the Dahmer in the room. Hi, just popping in quickly before I cut down a tree. Dude, if you cut down a fucking tree, Nom, where are you going to make the cookies? You're not thinking. You can't be a Keebler elf if you cut down your tree. He's trying to get into the... What does Dom also say? I can't see how you make Mike Evans fit the cap, which I assume Tim and Rob are talking about. Zacatech says, no guarantee Jones will look for him. Yeah, that's true. But hey, you know what? He's got to be good. Chris also says, Shane needs to find a guard. Evans won't help DJ if he's running for his life. If you want to talk about, Rob, bringing someone in on a large hook salary cap wise, it would have to be a guard. He's right. Yeah. Guard. Why would you go out and get a wide receiver when you've already revamped your wide receivers and your tight ends, and you really did nothing of massive interest for that guard position when you need to keep your $45 million quarterback standing up?
Yeah, no, if it was like I said, if it was an offensive lineman, say the Colts were shopping Quentin Nelson, right? I'd be like, okay, 25 years old. Not that they are, but 25 years old, you probably get a first round. I would give up a first round pick, second round pick, whatever his worth is, whatever he would demand, to bring in a guy like Quentin Nelson, because he's going to play for Quentin Nelson could play for the next 8 to 10 years.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I would do something like that. Like that, I would be like, okay, how can we make this work? That would be something that we need to be involved in.
That would make a lot more sense. T-Brad wants to, will King of the Almost sack?
King of the almost sack.
Will he get his sacks this year? I'm going to say no, because Rob, when I was dropped by with Rob and the Mr. Pesty analyst the other day, told me that between Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari, they're getting 49 and a half sacks.
I said 25.
Oh, 25. I couldn't remember what you guys said. It made my
some wackiness.
It made my head hurt. I think Leonard is going to get his 3 to 4 sacks. I think you're going to try to generate your rush from your outside. I think you're going to try to generate your rush from Kayvon and Azeez and Isaiah Simmons and a host of others. So I don't see. I think if Wink is going to go more towards his Baltimore style, Wink never had a guy I think over like 9.5 sacks. I think Juden had 1 year, but he always had a guy. You would have like 10 guys that would have 3 sacks or 4 sacks. So there was never like a true Michael Strahan. To get 20 plus sacks. So I think it's going to be spread around. I think Leonard will get his standard 3 to 4 sacks that we paid him $19 zillion for every year.
I think he's probably going to get somewhere along the lines of like 6 to 8. I think he's good for that. I think having the outside presence, the up the middle presence of Simmons, the outside presence of Azeez and Kayvon, and then obviously Dexter Lawrence being there. And now you add a guy like, A'Shawn Robinson. So I think that he could potentially get that.
Well, according to Rob, he's getting 8 sacks. Thibodeau and Azeez are getting 49 and a half.
I didn't say 49 and a half. I said 25.
I think Isaiah Simmons is getting 11. So the sack record is like 80. I forget what it is. I think we're probably going to have, according to Rob and Pest, we're getting 147 sacks this year. Oh, all right, Raz, let's go, G family. Hit that like button. We got Zach Attack. Yep, $32 million is the max of the contract wise. Thank you, Zach Attack. Hit the like button, or I will come to your house and drink your last beer. Well, T-Brad, you can't do that in this house because I sent a picture of James Williams to the refrigerator in the garage. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. You may die, but you know what? It'll be fun. It'll be fun to try. Let's see here. We got Dom says the franchise is going well. Thanks, Poppy Dom. How is the Poppycockers going to go in Philadelphia? Let's see here. Skyline says, I'm awake. Good morning, everyone. We got Mr. Alvarez coming in and says, if the Giants, I am not touching any contracts this year and just roll out with the team I got, even if they suck, at least the cap won't be affected in the future. Yeah. I mean, I think he's right. I think if you're smart, and I think Joe Shane is very smart, I think you just play the hand you got right now. You built you built your team in year 2 now, and see what happens. And he came out in his press conference said, we are not going to know what this team is for like 3-4 weeks. And
Which I wasn't hating on that, but I didn't like that response because you don't want your GM to like not show
I love that response.
Some type of
we had 2 years of a name of a coach who we shall not speak that told us everything. He's used every fucking football, basketball, field hockey cliche in the book. The base ate it up like lemmings, and there was a couple of us dumbasses going, he's a snakeskin salesman, because he's just singing this shit, and none of it came true. But now you got a guy grounded in realism that just says, listen, this is our team. I don't know what we got yet. Because you want to know why? They haven't played anybody in preseason. He is taking this the right 100% the right way. He understands that he's got to control the media. He's got to control his roster, and his roster is not built. Let's be honest, guys. The roster is not built with the greatest talent. If it was built with the greatest talent, we wouldn't have a lot of veteran minimum contracts on this roster, because he still was hamstringed by the salary cap. I loved his press conference. I did a whole video about it. I loved it. I thought when he first came in, Shane, he was not as media savvy as I thought he was going to be that opening day press conference, but to way he is now. And that's what I said. I posted this on Twitter, Rob. I said basically that, Shane was being realistic in this and that and this. And then I said, but all certain Giant fans heard was, we're going to win 14 games and go to the Super Bowl.
I saw that.
But he's being honest. This is what he has. He's like, this is what I have. We don't know what we have. Let's be honest. We don't know if Paris Campbell's going to fit in. We don't know what Hyatt's going to be. We don't know what teams are going to do against Waller. We don't know if the offensive line's going to hold up. We don't know if our linebackers are good enough in certain positions. We don't know what Isaiah Simmons can be. He even said it in reference to Isaiah Simmons and Booger and the Boogie. We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know. He's 25. We don't know what he's going to be. Boogie's been here a day. I don't know what he's going to be. I'd rather have someone just be fucking honest and then sit there and give me every, we're going to play this one day at a time, and we're going to coach up this team to the best of our ability and make sure that everyone's learning on the exact same page, and God willing, things will work out. I don't need to hear that shit. I need to hear honesty.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I can't wait for Sunday.
I know you can't.
Sunday.
Neither can I. Sunday here at your local Chevy dealership.
I'm going to be at the game Sunday. There's actually a lot. I don't want to give out people's names because we have some people coming in Sunday from afar that are not coming to see me, but they're going to the game, and I'm very excited. And they're subscribers and they're great friends of the channels that are coming from afar to be at this game. So I'm so excited.
The CEO of the Poppycockers?
No, he's not. Dom's not coming, but I don't want to say who's coming because they DM'd me, so I don't know if they want me to tell them. People, a couple people have. I don't know if they want me to tell them they're coming. But I'll probably tell you when we get later in the week because we're all going to try to hang out. So I'm very excited. I'm also going to go we're taking Big L with me. So Big L Gigante is coming with me. We're going to be doing the opening flag ceremony. So we are going to be on the field holding the flag, opening night against the Cowboys. This is something that my father was one of the greatest Giant fans there ever was, who passed away back in 2007. This is something he would have. I'm doing it for Dad because this is something he would have loved to have done, especially opening night against the Cowboys, holding that American flag one day before September 11th. So, I mean, it's going to be, I'm ready for this. Let's go to a question. It's a stupid question, but don't judge me. All right. Well, you've already been judged. What does dead cap space mean? That's the portion of the contract that goes against your salary cap, even though the player is no longer on the team. There's a segment of a contract. It's so the people don't just try to circumvent the cap by just giving people these. It's not. I always tell people it's not Madden. You can't just go to the the commissioner setting and erase the salary cap. It's so people don't try to circumvent the salary cap. So they make it so you can't give someone, like, let's say you gave Leonard Williams $200 million. You can't cut him next year, and save all that money. It's just part of the collective bargaining agreement. But it's the amount of money that's dead on the contract if you trade someone or waive someone. And usually it's the full portion of the guaranteed money. So what does Max on the beat says? Look at team waivers, guard. That's another good question. Have the Giants did not have any waiver claims against them or or they didn't win any. They brought in the tight end from Philadelphia.
Brought in the tight end from Philadelphia. They brought in an offensive lineman from the Falcons, another offensive lineman. They brought in Tawan Jones from Buffalo, who's like 35 years old.
Were you surprised that the Giants were not a little more active in bringing in offensive line?
Yeah, I actually heard that they didn't put in any waiver claims at all. Like they didn't put in any waiver claims. So
right. That's what you said. They had no waiver claims for or against.
Yeah. So yeah, I was pretty shocked. Obviously they made the trade for Boogie. I would have thought that maybe there would have been like another trade. And I was anticipating us to be a little bit more trade active than waiver claim active because of how far down the waiver claim we were. So if there's a guy that you think might have been on the bubble, maybe you reach out to that team and try to offer them something to get the player that you want, to guarantee you're going to get the player that you got your eye on, versus hoping that he falls down to your spot in the waiver claim. And I was shocked that they didn't put any claims in for any players. I was kind of shocked. But, at the same point, we didn't lose anybody. I think Corbin we lost, but he said he didn't want to come back to our practice squad, which we'll get into that. They were able to get Beavers. We did lose Tyree Phillips, who we put on the practice squad. We did lose him to Philadelphia. I know Giants fans are shitting on that decision, which I think was a stupid decision to begin with, to not keep him on the active roster and put him on the practice squad, even if like he was injured and you activate him once he got better and then cut Matt Pert or put Matt Pert on the fucking practice squad. Like, that's a stupid fucking decision. Because now Matt Pert is our fucking swing tackle, and God forbid, God help us if one of these guys, one of our tackles goes down, because we're absolutely fucked. But
actually, he's not. I've redefined his position. He's not a swing tackle. He is a turnstile tackle. Let's make sure that we have the correct football analogy.
He's a never was.
He's a never was. He was a wannabe. He's not even a wannabe. He was a never was. He's not even a has-been. I always tell people about that. I was never a has-been. I was a wannabe. I aspired to be a has-been, but I was never that good. So that's why I was a wannabe.
Listen, Giants fans, you better hope and pray that Matt Pert does not touch the field against the Cowboys. That's all I'm saying.
We better hope to God he does. I might lock him in his car.
Because if he's on the field against the Cowboys somehow, some way, Micah Parsons is going to be breaking the single game sack record.
Yes. Razzle says that Evans would only help this team, period. He never missed any time. We talked about it. He only missed 3 games like 3 years ago. But he has fought through injuries and played. There was a couple times that they thought he wouldn't play. Let's see here. What's up? We got OG Knockout. What's up, guys? Hit that like button. Please do that. He will have nagging injuries, but he'll fight through. He does. He fights through them. So, like I said, in the red zone, he is unstoppable. Dom also says, what is Dom? So it still counts against the cap, hence dead cap number. Thank you, Dominic. That's what we love, Dominic. He comes in. Darren does it from the inside. Mike Evans is an outside threat, so that's where you put him. I agree with that. Mark says, Tim for the GM. And he also says, poor Kenny G. He got his money. Peace out. We got Mr. Belford coming in because we know who he is.
I'm Johnny Wishbone, psychic extraordinaire. If you need me, just think Johnny
Wishbone, and I come running.
Always comes running. All right, what do we also got? Here we got the Irish Rover in this house as well. Mick also said the offensive line has been the Achilles heel for this team. It's still, what's interesting, you think about the linebacking core and you go back to Jerry Reese and how he never really augmented the linebacking core, how he never really worked on it. And now it's kind of interesting that over the last, I would say 7 years, even going back to Eli Manning, the offensive line has been that position that the Giants have put so much faith in players that they've either drafted or have not really shown, I would say, an aptitude to play these positions. And I get worried that we're doing the same thing again this year.
Yeah, I mean, the lack of attention to the linebacking core and the offensive line is kind of critical. And I know for us as fans, especially in the Twitter spaces, we're very critical about Bobby Johnson and the job that he's done. You have some, younger prospects that have not developed under Bobby Johnson. I think Andrew Thomas is Andrew Thomas because he's just that good. And I think if Evan Neal is that good as well, it's not going to be due to Bobby Johnson. It's going to be due to the fact of Evan Neal is just that good of a player. And I think the same thing with JMS, but you've got guys like Azudu, McKeithen that you took, one of those guys you took in the top 100. I think McKeithen was a 4th or a 5th round pick. You've got, Ben Bredesen, who I think was a 4th round pick for the Baltimore Ravens, if I'm not mistaken. And you're just not able to get anything out of those players. But yet, when you look at Andre Patterson, we're ecstatic that he's got guys like Jordan Riley, Leo, Ashawn, Nacho.
Here's the question. I'm going to stop you right here, though, because first of all, I love Bobby Johnson because he looks like Rob Zombie. So that's just, anyone knows Rob Zombie is the musician, the filmmaker. He looks just like Rob Zombie. So he's already a winner in my book. Second of all, you're comparing two positional coaches, but I think one has not extraordinary talent, but very, very good talent in the defensive line. And honestly, I don't think you can only do so much with the talent you have. And if that talent is not good, you can only make them so much better.
Yeah, but you got to look at Bobby Johnson's track record. It's not very good.
What's his track?
Track record's not good, especially going back to Buffalo.
Well, what's his track record?
I mean, I'll give an example of, shout out to Sal, talks about it. They had once upon a time, the Buffalo Bills drafted a guy named Wyatt Teller who showed pretty good promise on his rookie year. Bobby Johnson comes in 2018 and says, I don't like this guy. They ship him off. He can't hack it. They sign some veterans. They send him off to Cleveland, and he becomes a 3 or 4 time All-Pro in Wyatt Teller. And that interior line for the Bills was absolute trash.
But has that ever happened to any other offensive line coach in the history of the NFL, or was it only just Bobby Johnson?
I mean, Bobby Johnson is the one that's on our team.
I know, but I'm just saying you are pointing out an example of something, but has that ever happened in the history of the NFL?
What do you mean?
That a player who was bad somewhere else went to another team and played much better than he did on that other team.
Yeah, I'm sure that there has been.
I can't. There's been plenty of offensive linemen and players that have gone to the places else that excelled besides where they were originally were. And it doesn't.
I don't know. I just think that right now, I don't think that Bobby Johnson's a good coach. I don't think he's the guy. I don't think he's a good fit for what we're doing. I think he's here because he's Dave's guy. And I think at some point, you got to put the he's my guy aside, and you got to get guys that know how to coach and develop players. He did not develop Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas was Andrew Thomas before he got here. Evan Neal was a good prospect coming out of college, and he went and sought out help outside of the organization, and you got a top 100 pick in Josh Azudu that didn't run away with the job this year, is awarded the job because him and Ben Bredesen are on the same level path, which I agree. If they're on the same wavelength, then Azudu being the younger player and being a player that you scouted, he needs to get the start. I just don't think that Bobby Johnson is it. I think we're at this point we're lacking in the development of these young players.
So here we go. 10-6, 13-3, 11-6. Those were the records of the Buffalo Bills in the last 3 years of Bobby Johnson. And you look at their total in reference to their total offense and where they ranked in the league. They ranked pretty high in the league. And yes, you do have Josh Allen, you do have certain players, but if you don't have an offensive line that is going to hold up to some regards, even if you have Josh Allen, because I hear this about Daniel Jones all the time, if you don't have a good offensive line or offensive line well enough to play well enough, you're not going to excel. And they went to the playoffs 3 years in a row and had a well above winning records his last 3 years in Buffalo.
Yeah, but I'm not going to sit here and put any merit on the success of the Buffalo Bills' record nor their offensive production and give justification to Bobby Johnson. Like, we're not going to sit here and say with Cincinnati, Joe Burrow puts up great numbers, but we all know that he has a bottom tier offensive line.
He does. He's very much so got a bottom offensive line.
So that's the thing, is like, go and look at their offensive line rankings in run pro, pass pro, and overall. And was Josh Allen putting up those numbers and leading the team with a bad offensive line ranking, that says more about Brian Daboll, in my opinion. Brian Daboll and Josh Allen in that time versus a guy like Bobby Johnson.
Okay. I just remember when Bobby Johnson came into this team, everyone was so excited. I remember and this is where the kind of the point that I was getting to. I remember everyone was so hyped when Bobby Johnson came into this team. Now it's his, and again, we're not ever, it just kills me with Giant fans and certain segment of Giants fans. We're not looking at maybe the talent's just not good. We're just looking at it's all Bobby Johnson's fault. Maybe the talent just isn't there on these players. I mean, let's.
But he's the one. If the talent is not there, he's the one that went out and scouted and talked about guys like Evan Neal. Not Evan Neal. I'm sorry, Ezeudu and McKeithen.
He didn't scout these guys.
Yes, he did. He went out there and ran drills with these guys.
Scouts are the ones that scouted these guys and said, "Hey, these are the guys that we are bringing in for you to work with."
And he's the one who vouched for them.
You don't know that.
Come on.
But you don't. I'm sorry, you don't, because I'm going to tell you this right now from firsthand experience. A position coach, yes, has a say in certain regards into drafting, but you have your head scout, you have your scout, you have your regional scout, you have your VP of personnel, you have your scouting director, you have your general manager, and then you have your head coach. So those 7 guys have more of an authority to draft someone than your positional coach does. And I'm going to tell you that right from experience. I just have 7 guys that have to go down the road, check someone off before. Now, if the head coach comes to Shane and says, "Hey, listen, I want this guy." Yeah, your head coach is your coach is your general manager is going to listen to your head coach. But you have 7 guys ahead of the position coach that are doing work daily. This is their job 24/7, 7 days a week. And they're going to go with the guys that they feel they may take the recommendation from a positional coach, but you're going to have to go through those other 7 guys before that guy even gets drafted, before they say, "Okay, I've seen this firsthand."
But nobody's going to convince me that you had Josh Ezeudu and you had Solier, who's, if I'm pronouncing his name right, who's with the Chargers, and you had them both where you worked them both out. And Solier was on the board when Ezeudu was there, and you thought that Ezeudu was the better player. Somebody dropped the fucking ball.
It doesn't mean Bobby Johnson is the one that said he's the better player.
It doesn't mean that he didn't.
But you're missing the whole. You know what? I have to agree with you. I gotta go with this one right here.
Gentlemen, what brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
If anyone out there thinks that a positional coach has a higher value in reference to drafting someone than the 7 guys I mentioned, please sign off. Please automatically unsubscribe to the channel, because you're too dumb to watch.
And look, Avery just put in the chat, they were ranked 21st. And what were we ranked? 26th? Not that much of a difference.
So, and
5 spots.
He had 5.
So that means that offense and that record was due to the fact of Brian Daboll, who, guess what, is our head coach right now, and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and
I was gonna say, and the defense and everyone else. I think a lot of people, and this is the way it's always been, a lot of people just look for the guy to blame. It's easier to say that Rob Zombie is a horrible line coach than it is the fact that maybe we whiffed on some guys.
No, but I think that this also says a lot about
John Michael Schmidt has played well all preseason. Who has he been coached by?
So now that's all Bobby Johnson?
No, I'm not saying it's all Bobby. According to you, everyone that's bad or is not playing well is Bobby Johnson's fault. Mm-hmm. But you're not going to give him any credit for maybe helping Andrew Thomas. Because Andrew Thomas had a better year last year than he did the previous year. And who was the line coach last year?
But he's been going. Bobby Johnson.
But I'm
not going to get. I'm nowhere. No shot going to give Bobby Johnson any credit with Andrew Thomas.
Saying you don't know that because are you at the practices daily?
He's been going and getting coached by his Georgia offensive line coach on a regular basis.
But do you know what goes on to that inside the organization, inside that offensive line room daily?
I'm telling you right now, Bobby Johnson.
Zach Attack just nailed it. Thank you, Zach Attack. Oh, Super Chat's good at Philadelphia Children's Hospital. Bobby Johnson is the new Jason Garrett. That, you know what? That's I gotta have a sound effect when something's just awesome. I don't even have a sound effect. Well, here we go. There we go. Zach Attack just blew that out of the water. 100% right. The new whipping boy of the New York Giants. The fault of everyone on this team, if the Giants start off 0-3, is Bobby Johnson. Everyone looks for a reason, but no one looks for an answer. I should put that on a t-shirt. Let's see.
I mean, would we not be if Andre Patterson and this defensive line wasn't producing in their second year? Listen, I'm not trying to say anything about Bobby Johnson like I'm ready to get him out right now. But if this offensive line and these young players don't show progression at the end of the year, Bobby Johnson's got to go.
Who was the defensive line coach last year?
Andre Patterson.
Okay. How would you rank the Giants' run stopping ability on that defensive line last year?
They weren't very good.
They were porous, terrible. They played better when Leonard Williams was not in the game. Dexter Lawrence, for all the things that he does well, got turned around. He gets great push, he gets great this, but he also can't do everything alone. But you can say, though, that the talent this year is better on the defensive line than it was last year. Is that because of the defensive line coach, or is it because of the fact that they brought in better players?
They brought in better players, but if you look at Andre Patterson's track record back to Minnesota when he was their position coach, they were a dominant front defensive line.
But again, was that because of him or because of his talent that he had? See, it's one half dozen another. You want to blame? You want to blame somebody? No, I'm not going to let you. I'm not going to let people go out and attack one guy because they think he's going to be the end to be all. Because Zach Attack is right. He is the new Jason Garrett.
Listen, the bottom line is when you are a coach in the National Football League, a position coach, and you have young talent on your roster, you could say that Ben Bredesen still is a player that's being developed. He's only 25 years old. Josh Azudu was a top 100 pick. Still needs to be developed
when he wasn't here.
But what I'm saying is that if you are not able to develop these young players, and at the end of the year, Josh Azudu has not cemented himself and shown that under Bobby Johnson, he has improved and he shows that he could be that left guard, then Bobby Johnson has to go.
How many coaches did Matt from Connecticut have?
I don't know, 2, 3?
3. So they were all terrible, and Matt from Connecticut is just a great player. He just sucks. So you don't know about it. The other guys just suck.
But my point is that you went and worked out these guys, and you gave information. You gave information to your GM, to your head coach about these players.
Your scouts, your head scout, your regional scout, your vice president of player personnel, your head coach. Everyone else is involved in this decision-making process. He works out the guys they bring in. That's what they do.
Eric Flowers, after being dumped by the Giants, actually became a pretty good offensive guard for Miami and for Jacksonville.
I wouldn't say.
And for Washington. He became a better player once he left.
But he left and he switched positions.
And why couldn't we do that? Why couldn't we say, hey, you know what? You're struggling at the tackle position. Let's move you to another position and see if we can do it. Shit, we're talking about that now with Evan Neal.
Because Eric Flowers had an attitude. And the Giants coaching staff was tired of Eric Flowers. And Eric Flowers did not, and they've said it before, Eric Flowers did not have the same work ethic that he had after he left the Giants organization that last year. And I agree. Based on Rob's point, how did Eric Flowers work out after being dumped by the Giants? So that's he's trying to prove your point for you. But he was switched positionally. He's not talking about the same positions. And Eric Flowers was just a bad fit for this team. And we talk about Eric Flowers, but we're not talking about Eric Flowers turned into Jonathan Ogden when he left. Eric Flowers turned into I would say a slightly less better, slightly less Brad. He was a slightly better equal to Brad Benson from the '86 Giants.
No, and look, and let me clarify something that Ronnie said. No, I'm not saying that Joe Shane is asking Bobby Johnson who they should draft, but I would guarantee that both Joe and Brian talked to Bobby about the players that he worked out. At the end of the day, Joe makes the decisions on who to not or to draft. And my point is this. Just using this one name based off of how we saw him play last year, thrown in at left tackle, who could play outside, he could play tackle, he could play guard. There's no way we're going to give all of this credit to Joe Shane, right? Who's done a lot of, and again, you're going to make mistakes, but we're not going to sit here and be like, yeah, you know what, Joe, you made the right move leaving Sawyer on the board and taking Josh Azudu from North Carolina. That was the right move. It was not.
So how is that Bobby Johnson's fault?
I'm not saying that is Bobby Johnson's fault per se. But what I'm saying is at the end of the year, and Zach, there's no way we're going to go from 26 to 10. You're talking about jumping 16 spots. Not going to happen.
But to his point, though, if this does happen, Bobby Johnson gets no credit. Because Evan Neal just became Evan Neal. Andrew Thomas is Andrew Thomas, and a rookie starting center just became, a Bart Oates.
Look, if they go to top 10, then yeah, I mean, obviously Bobby Johnson is going to get some of the credit, and yeah, I'll give him credit at that point.
I'm giving him some of the credit for excelling.
I'm not giving him
his fault. These other guys aren't excelling, but we're going to give him some of the credit. If there's a top.
I am not giving Bobby Johnson any credit for Andrew Thomas because I feel Andrew Thomas was Andrew Thomas before Bobby even got there. My point is right now, this offensive line is not solidified. They are doing a rotational thing, which they're going to end up doing going into week 1, which I am not fond of. And if guys that they took, guys like Josh Azudu and these guys that are developmental players, and at the end of the year, they are not showing development, then that is on Bobby Johnson. Going into next year, there should be no reason why at the end of the year, if Bobby Johnson is a good player, we shouldn't be like, man, Josh Azudu really showed a lot of growth this year. And we cement him in at being at the left guard spot.
What if Josh Azudu is just not as talented as people think?
Then you shouldn't have taken him when you took him.
But that's not Bobby Johnson's fault.
But here's the thing. Was anybody thinking that Jordan Riley was going to be a great player? Or is Andre Patterson making him that good by coaching him up?
Or according to you, maybe he's not coaching up. Maybe Jordan Riley was just always going to be good.
Okay, I'll give you another example. Dexter Lawrence. People were talking about in the Giants community trading him and getting some assets back from him. He was playing out of position, and he got voted first team All-Pro last year.
But he was playing out of position. That didn't have anything to do with the defensive line coach. That had to do with your defensive coordinator.
But the defensive line coach said, and the defensive coordinator said, I'm gonna move you into the right position. You're not gonna. Even Danielle Hunter gave Andre Patterson credit and said, I am the player I am today because of this man.
And what team does he play on?
The Vikings.
So he's not fucking here, so who cares? I'm done with Rob. We're done with Rob. We're not blaming Bobby Johnson for shit. Let's see here. Blaming Bobby Johnson is absurd. Jason Garrett is an objective, terrible coach at best. When you have calmed down, you may come back in. You're going to sit in the corner and time out until I tell you come back out. I think here we go. Avery says, I think these guys just honestly aren't good. That's a possibility. If you guys think that Joe is asking Bobby Johnson who they should draft, you need a clue. Let's see. The average guard at best, but some people on our scouting team may suck. I agree with that we've gotten rid of some guys from our scouting team that we moved forward. Flowers was out of position and became a serviceable lineman. I agree 100%. Flowers was an upgrade. He did not turn into Gene Upshaw. 100%. Matthew, hey, Big Matthew, what's going on, my friend? I haven't seen Matthew in a while. Matthew, long time no see. Working my butt off. Let's go, Big Blue. We also have James Williams say, we have the Cowgirls next Sunday, but raging on Bobby Johnson. Come on, boys, move along. Let's see. Azudo was admitted now raw talent who was hurt. I agree. Don't forget the like button. We got Mark Thompson. Howdy, Tim. Howdy, James. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Dave Terry also said, tell us how you really feel, Rob.
I can't because I'll get put in timeout.
He'll get put in timeout again. So we got the Dallas Cowgirls coming in here. Did Vegas ever come up with a line? Is there a Vegas line right now, Rob, with the Zach Attack? What's the Vegas line?
I think
right
it's
now
like
for the
5.
Cowboys?
I think it's like 5.
So are we 5.5 dogs or are we favored? I don't know.
I think I can't remember. I think we're 5 point like underdogs or something like that. I think
At home opening night, Giants 5.5 dogs, probably from Vegas. Vegas also has projected the Giants have an over under of 7.5 wins this year. So we don't know what's going to go on yet, because even the great venerable Joe Shana says I don't know what's going to go on. The Cowboys, you know what? Opening day, Rob, is one of those things.
it's a wild day. It can go either way.
You just don't know. You really don't know. And if you take a look at the Cowboys roster, without Bobby Johnson, have they improved, do you think, over last year, going off what we kind of just see now?
I think so.
So where do you think the improvement is? I mean, I see a couple things that I see improvement on, but where do you think that they've really made their big push?
I think one is solidifying Micah Parsons to playing one spot on the football field. So I think primarily this year he's going to be an edge rusher, where they were moving him around quite a bit, putting him at middle linebacker, doing this, doing that. I think solidifying him as an edge rusher or defensive end, I think is huge for them, because now he could just go after the passer and disrupt the ball, disrupt the offense. I think bringing in Stephon Gilmore was big. You add him, he was a number 1 corner, with with Indianapolis. Now he's a number 2 corner. And you could argue he's probably the best number 2 corner in football. Maybe, I don't know. I think he still plays well. You bring in a guy like Brandon Cooks on the offensive side of the football. I think Michael Gallup coming back a year after his ACL. He didn't play very good last year, but he was recovering from that ACL injury. I think he's going to be better. CeeDee Lamb had a good year last year, came into his own as solidifying him as the number 1 wide receiver in this offense. So I think you bring in Brandon Cooks. I think that's going to open up the passing game as well. I know that, the people are a little bit, down on their tight end room. I think Jake Ferguson's a decent player. I actually would have liked us to take him in the later rounds in the draft, which is when they took him, 2 years ago when he was coming out, or last year when he came out. And then they got Shoemaker. So they got some young talent there at the tight end spot. But I think on defense, with the solidifying Micah Parsons on the defensive end spot, bringing in Gilmore, bringing back some of their key pieces like, Leighton Vander Esch and Donovan Wilson, bringing those guys back. They're bringing back their entire, front defensive line.
Why is nobody talking about that Jonathan Hankins is starting for this team?
Well, it's just I'm saying they brought back their entire defensive line.
The former Giant, Jonathan Hankins, is starting for this team.
Jonathan Hankins. And then, offensively, like I said, Brandon Cooks, don't know what I think them getting Zach Martin back in the building is huge for their offensive line. I think if he wasn't playing week 1, I think that gives us a lot more of an advantage. But now that he's playing, I think that makes the trenches battle a lot more interesting. And that betters their offensive line. So that's where I think that they got better. And the last thing is, I know everybody wants to harp on Dak, 15 interceptions. The guy had a broken thumb last year. He dealt with it all year. Just didn't play well. On the back end of the year last year, I think there was a lot. He's a good quarterback. I think he's going to bounce back a little bit this year and play good. But but I think they got better. I think that they improved.
Well, my thing is this: if you take a look at the issues they had at times last year, you had some issues with your front seven, but you had more of your issues in your secondary. And now you have a secondary of Gilmore, Diggs, you have Bland, you have Wilson and Curse and Hooker at the safeties. You have Marquise Bell backing them up. You have Eric Scott Jr. also playing behind them. I think they have taken, now I know a lot of people think Gilmore at his age has taken a step back, but even as a step back, it's some of the issues that they had with their secondary. You put Stephon Gilmore, you tie him up with Diggs, and like I said, you have Bland, Wilson, Curse, and Hooker out there. You have yourself a pretty good defense. That people talk about how the Giants, defensive backfield has improved. Their defensive backfield finally has some depth, and I believe they're going to have more of the ability that they need to stop the pass. And you have to take a look at what their rush is going to come in. And people forget that Dante Fowler is also sitting there as one of their reserve defensive linemen who can rush the passer along with Clark and along with Parsons. And you still have DeMarcus Lawrence in there as well. I mean, I think they've stacked up. I think they tried to figure out how to stack up their defense to make it more geared towards a championship defense. And even though they've made some additions, on that offense, bringing in Cooks, or bringing in, going with the rookie tight end, bringing in a couple of other guys, they've figured out, I don't know if they've figured out, the light went on in Dallas that, hey, listen, yeah, if we can put up the points, that's great. But if we can't stop someone outside of Stephon Diggs getting an interception somewhere here or there, it's just not going to work. So they really it looks like to me, if you look at the roster, they've not really reinvented the secondary, but they improved their secondary. They have young guys now to back up their starters. And as we sometimes have concern about like our offensive line depth, I think that secondary depth is going to be what's going to help carry Dallas. I don't know what they're going to do in the division, because Lord knows, no one knows what the hell is going to happen week 1 or even up week 4. But I think positionally, if you want to look at what I think a huge improvement is with that pass rush, you add that pass rush and then you add a secondary, and maybe that secondary adds a second onto the ability for their line to get to the quarterback. That defense in Dallas could, and I do use the big word, could finally be dangerous. And which I believe is what's held them back for years.
I think that right now you can make the argument where the Cowboys probably could have the best defense in football. The one thing that they did really, really well last year is they were able to get to the quarterback with their front four.
Yeah.
Which is, go back to the times that we won the Super Bowls, right? That's what we were able to do. And we had a lot of success. You drop more in coverage when you can get there with just your front four guys. It's very rare that happens. And they were doing it with ease last year. So it's going to be interesting. I know some people are saying, that they're looking kind of old. I believe it or not, I don't see that. Like, I don't know if you guys look, but I think they're not old. 70% of their team is all from the draft.
Right.
If you go and you look at their team, like 70% of their team is all from them drafting through the draft. So
there are older guys who move that average age up.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. Mark Thompson says, "Hey, James, I'm good." Mark Thompson's from Barbados is one of the people. Evidently, he put it out there. Is one of the people that is going to be attending the game on Sunday. He's coming all the way in from Barbados, so I'm very excited to meet Mark in person. We're working on that right now. James Williams also says Gilmore will be a major problem for Jones. I think the defense is legit. Let's see here. Mick says 5 sacks a game for the defensive line and the O line. I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. Mark says, "What's up, Mark? What's up, Tim? Let's go, Big Giants." Let's see here. We got the row over said, but Dak is Dak. Do you think, though, to Irish Rover's point, I think in regards to the fact that if the Giants are going to beat the Vegas odds of 7.5, that Daniel Jones is going to be the one that's going to have to do that. Now, for the Cowboys to come out and be the team that some people think they're going to be, is it the same pressure on Dak that's going to be on Daniel Jones, that a Dak is going to have to be, more than Dak, maybe not Roger Staubach, but maybe more towards a Troy Aikman?
No, I think like with Dak, when you look at it, like Dak has a good supporting cast where he doesn't have to do everything on his own. Daniel's supporting cast is good, but it's not up to the same level as what Dak Prescott has. Like, we don't have the type of defense that Dallas has. Dallas has a better offensive line. They've got more weapons at the skill position than we do. So, or as far as like bigger names, but or splashier names, right? So I don't think that Dak has to do or play above his means. I think with Daniel has something to prove, right? He's trying to prove that the contract he got was worth the investment, that last year wasn't a fluke, right? And that he can do something special with this team. And so we'll see what what we're able to, what he's able to do. The other thing with this too, right, it kind of goes back to the offensive line thing a little bit. Like, you look at the success that Buffalo had with the 21st ranked offensive line. You look at the numbers that Josh was able to put up. You look at the games that they were able to win, the points they were able to score per game. And really, Josh's only real weapon other than his legs was Stephon Diggs. I was going to say Stephon Gilmore for a second. If we have the 20, let's just say we can get from 26 to the 22nd ranked offensive line, Jones should be able to produce with that, right? And so I'm expecting, like, a lot of these games, that we're in this year, I'm expecting Jones to be the difference maker of what is keeping us in games or not, right? He played good that first drive against Carolina. Hopefully it continues to go forth, but I think that there's more pressure on Daniel than there is Dak, just because I don't think that Dak needs to overplay. Maybe now that Trey Lance is there, maybe that adds a little bit more pressure. I don't know. But because now if Dak isn't playing well, you're going to hear people in the fan base saying, let's see Trey. So maybe there's a little bit more pressure now than there was before. I don't know, but I think Jones is under more pressure than Dak is.
So at the end of the day, you think even with the contract that, well, I agree. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you. Where he, I was just looking up, according to Pro Football Focus, the Buffalo Bills offensive line last year only ranked 23rd. Just throwing it there. I don't know how they went down after Bobby left. I don't know, but somehow they only ranked third. Parsons has always been an edge rusher. You see what the best part about this is? Da-da-da-da-da-da. I love having the power.
I think only dropping 2 spots. I think this is a lot more about the current coach that's there.
Well, no,
Bobby Johnson.
They still dropped 2 spots. I'm just saying they still dropped 2 spots.
Yeah, but if Bobby Johnson was so good, it would have dropped more.
Gilmore still are not that quite good. Not quite the same player. I'm sorry, younger, faster should be. I think Gilmore is going to be fine. I don't agree with the Cowboys look old. I do think they have some older players, when we talked about a second ago, which kind of skews their average age on the team. But they to Rob's point, they actually have drafted well. I know Zach. I know Diggs is I got Stephon Diggs confused. It's been a long day. I had a long day yesterday. I had a fun day yesterday, but it was a very long day yesterday. Let's see. James Williams says the Redskins are going to be better than last year. Remember, we tied them last year. It's very true. Ronnie says, what did he just say? They have a good press cover corner, but that means they could give up the big play very soon and very often. I agree with that, but my thing about the having the press cover corner is the fact that if their defensive backfield is even going to allow maybe a half a second to a second more time-wise for that defensive line and their rush is still good. I don't think they have the best defense in football. I still think that Philadelphia, with what they've done and the talent they have, is still head and shoulders, not only in the division, but kind of in the league. And I don't think, I think Philadelphia, and we're not going to talk about Philadelphia this week, but I think Philadelphia is going to come at you in waves this year. They did last year too, but I think it's just going to be, I think if barring injuries and if their secondary plays as well as they played last year, I think going into Philadelphia is going to be like going back into the vet in the 80s. It's just a place you're not going to want to go. Swing Culture TV comes in top of the morning, gentlemen. Timmy, what's going on? RZeroB. I think we're going to shock a lot of wins, and we have 11 wins and shock the NFL. I hope we are. I hope we are. I hope we do. I hope we have. But first, we got to get through game 1. Swing also says that he's not Dak good. Lol. Beat them this season, both games. Do you think that? All right. So we're taking Zach in Texas. He's making a Bobby Johnson fan club. Do you think, Rob, that if we take a look at this game on next Sunday, if we take a look at, we take a look at it on paper, because we're going to look at it on paper first, and then we're going to look at it on everything else, because there's the paper matchup, and then there's the emotional matchup, and then there's just anything can happen on Sunday. If we look at this game on paper, if we compare the two rosters, we compare the fact, and we add in the factor that the Giants are playing at home. We're just saying they're playing home. We're not going to get into the home crowd and all that yet. But if you take a look at these two teams on paper, who has the clear advantage, or may not be a clear advantage, who has the advantage? Now you got to look at this positionally, defensively, offensively matchups here.
I think just from a defensive perspective, I give the advantage to Dallas because I think they have the better defense. Because when you look at what our weaknesses are right now going into this game on offense, it's the offensive line, and their strength is the defensive line. And so I think when you look at it, I think at that point, I give the upper hand to the Dallas Cowboys from that regard. But overall, I think that we match up quite well with Dallas from the aspect that I think that if the offensive line can hold up in any capacity, I think that with Barkley and with some of these, speed guys, with Waller, I think that we pose a little bit more of a threat for some big play opportunities against this defense than people may think. So overall, I think it's a close fight. But if you want me to give you an edge, I give it to Dallas strictly because of the defense. And we saw last year when defenses were throwing off our offense, we struggled to move the football, things of that nature. And I think if we get to that point, unless they show us, I'm not trying to say last year's offensive performance is this year's. So we'll have to see. But if their defense is getting after us, can we still move the football? Or do we stalemate? Are we not able to do anything because their defense is just pummeling our offensive line and we just can't do anything? So I'll give the edge to Dallas as far as, from that regard.
I think if you look at this game on paper, the defensive backfields on both teams are going to be either the advantage or the Achilles heel. The Giants going up against the Dallas Cowboys, the Giants' newly revamped defensive backfield going up against Lamb, Cooks, and Gallup, and even Pollard out of the backfield. If Hawkins and Banks are not fully up to the task of covering these guys, and Adoree Jackson is going to be stuck on CeeDee Lamb, if they're not up to the task, I think it could get ugly. And people talk about the big play capability going against with the Giants going against Dallas. I think if these two rookies do not hold up, it's going to be a Pearl Harbor type event. It's just going to be bombs away. And I think Dak is a good enough quarterback. I think Dak doesn't get the credit, but I also think he gets a lot of the criticism he deserves. But I think if he starts picking on these guys and they are not holding up under the pressure, and we're not getting over the top safety help, and he finds someone one-on-one coverage against, let's say Hawkins, let's just say, for the sake of argument that, Hawkins goes one-on-one with Cooks. If Hawkins isn't up to the task and he's not getting over the top safety help, it could get ugly quick.
Mm-hmm.
And to the other regards is if they are up to the task, it could help shut down their passing attack, which then can allow the Giants to, focus on stopping Pollard. But then it's also the vice versa. If you go out into the Cowboys and the Cowboys secondary, pulls a Lester Haynes, Mike Haynes situation and shuts down the rookie contingent of, Jalen Hyatt, and, Hodges does not get off the ball as well as he should. And Sterling Shepard is still having, is not making the plays that he should be. And you're relying on Waller, and they put someone like Parsons or one of their multitudes of safeties they have in Dallas on Waller, and they shut down, you cover Waller with a linebacker and give him safety help. If you shut down Waller and we can't get our guys on the outside motivated, that's just going to shut down Saquon Barkley in the running game. But then again, if Hyatt gets a step and turns into Randy Moss for one Sunday night, and Waller just is totally unstoppable, it's going to be the difference maker, because then that's going to open up the running game. So I think the key to both of these teams is going to be the defensive backfields.
Yeah.
And I think that if you take a look at it from just a rudimentary perspective, that is going to be the key matchup. Because I think on paper, if you go if you take the 53-man roster and go from 1 to 53, I think Dallas has more talent than the Giants right now, because we don't know exactly what a lot of the rookie talent and second-year talent on this team is going to be. But if you go on a matchup of paper right now, that's probably why they're 5.5-point favorites, on the road opening night against the Giants.
Yeah, it's going to be a defensive. I think in this game, it's going to have to be. I think defense is going to be what decides the winner of this football game, either for Dallas or for us. So, and then I don't know if you saw, but it just came out. The Cowboys just came to agreement on a 5-year extension with Steele, 5 years, $86.5 million. So they plan on him being there for the future.
Well, it doesn't change our matchup, but that's good sideline reporting from Rob. Let's see. Dak just needs not to turn the ball over. I agree with that in some regards. They made the playoffs and won a game with him, but terrible Dak does have a lot to prove. His contract's going to be a mess for them. Swing Culture says, I also disagree. I think there's more pressure on Dak. I think there's equal amount of pressure on both quarterbacks, because Daniel Jones needs to live up to his contract and Dak needs to win. Because if Daniel Jones does not lead and live up to the $160 million he got, it's going to get ugly in New York quick. And Dak, if he brings the team to a 1-6 start, there's going to be this clamoring for Cooper Rush. So I kind of think in some regards they're both. I think they're both equally. I think they're both equally going to be under the microscope. Douglas says, "Hey Tim, you ready for the Giants to win 302 with Daniel Jones? They're going to throw 45 touchdowns in just one game."
That's what she said.
I mean, let's see. T-Rad, I'm ready for that. T-Rad says Daniel Jones is not under any pressure. His fan base will just blame someone else on the team. Bobby Johnson. Thank you, T-Brad. We understand that. We got Matthew says, what's your feeling on the effects of the increased talent of the receivers that we have now with DJ's performance? I think if anything, Rob, DJ has you have to say just with the addition of Waller, you've improved his wide receiver, not even wide receiver, his skill sets, his skill receiving set.
Agreed.
You got to say that. And the fact that they're having the idea, now don't forget the like button, guys. Keep saying it. The likes are going up, and I keep telling people forget the like button. If you take a look at the fact that now they're talking about using Saquon Barkley out of the backfield again, and you have Waller one-on-one potentially, or even double covered, you have Saquon in the backfield, you can open up one-on-one position. It should be an increase in his performance. There should be more than 3,000 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Yeah, I agree. The addition of Waller definitely opens up the offense, and I think it's going to have, a big effect for guys like Daniel Bellinger, Wando Robinson, I think the offense is going to be fun to watch, and see what they're able to do and the different concepts and the different things that, we're able to do. One thing that I was alluding to earlier, and it kind of fits into what we're talking about right now. I think, once upon a time, Daves was coaching both Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, and they had probably the two best performances for a rookie duo, right, going to the Super Bowl in 2011. And I think when you look at that, I think that Daniel Bellinger, you're going to see him being used how Gronk was used that year. Now, I'm not saying he's going to put up Gronkowski numbers, but like where Gronk was was lining up, how they used Gronk that year, I think you're going to see Bellinger be used in the same way, and how they used Aaron Hernandez that year and lining him up at wide receiver, in the slot, out wide, at tight end. I think you're going to see Waller be used that same way as well, and try to give them some mismatches on opposing defenses. So it's going to be interesting to see how they use both of these tight ends, and also sprinkling in guys like Hyatt, Campbell, Wando Robinson, who's been activated off of PUP, Darius Slayton, Hodgins. I'm excited to see what they're going to do offensively, and obviously Saquon Barkley too.
We got to wait and see what's going to go with Wando, because he has been activated off the PUP, but he's got 4 games before they can decide what they want to do with him. So there was some talk that he could potentially play on Sunday, and there's some talk that he could play on week 4. So So we still don't have a full answer on Wan'Dale Robinson. So I'm just going to go with the guys that I got on the field. Richard Red wants to know, if Evan Neal struggles at tackle this year, would you move him to inside guard? No, because we'll just fire Bobby Johnson and everything will be fine. Douglas also says, hey, Tim, do you think DJ could become a top 10 quarterback this year? I think he is a top 15, but I might be a little nice. I personally think, this is my personal opinion about Daniel Jones. Top 10, no. Top 15, yes. I think he could be a top 15 quarterback, because not every team in the league is going to have a top 10 quarterback or a top 5 quarterback. I think Daniel Jones, if he has the talent, if he's making these strides and improvement in year 5, he should be a top 15 at this point in his career. Honestly, let's be honest, Rob, in year 5, with all the chances he's gotten, he should be a top 10 quarterback easily.
Mm-hmm.
Because how many teams have just moved on for guys after 2 years? We're giving Daniel Jones a 5th year and $160 million for 2 more seasons. So we could potentially be 7 years into Daniel Jones's career and still wondering what kind of quarterback he is. So I think he has to become a top 15 quarterback this year. He's got to throw at least for league averages in reference to not only yardage and touchdowns, but, time the ball travels in the air, time in the pocket, yards per completion. He's got to at least hit averages this year. He was under average on almost every stat last year that mattered in reference to passing. People will point out his interception ratio, but they don't point out, the number of yards the ball traveled per throw, or the amount of time the ball traveled in the air, because that's just telling you he's just dumping it off. So yes, that's going to increase your completion percentage and take away your opportunities for making mistakes. But this year, to me, like I said, I don't need him to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. Throw for anywhere between 3,900 yards and 4,000 yards, which is pretty average for this year. I mean, for this NFL, the 2023 NFL. Throw for 25 to 28 touchdowns, which is pretty average. And I'll even increase his interceptions to 10 to 15 as long as he's throwing the ball deep, and then I'm happy.
Let me ask this stupid question, because I see guys, Mark, Anthony, Douglas asked the question, right? What does it matter whether he's top 5, top 10? What does that matter? Right? Let me give you guys an example. People in this fan base like to shit on Justin Herbert, who's a top 5 quarterback, but has made the playoffs once in his 4-year career. What did he come in here in 2020? So in 3 years he's made the playoffs once, right? And people shit on him for last year, right? Saying, "Oh, he lost in the first round. Daniel Jones went further than Justin Herbert." Does it really fucking matter whether Daniel Jones is a top 5, top 10, top 15 quarterback? What if Daniel Jones was ranked 20th, but the Giants were constantly winning games and we were in the conference championship and maybe went to a playoff, went to a Super Bowl?
Last 5 winning quarterbacks: Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Sam Bradford, Patrick Mahomes, all top 5 quarterbacks.
But you're talking about 2 of the probably best to play the game.
But they're still top 5 quarterbacks.
Yeah, but those are, to me, I look at both of those guys as like unicorns. Like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady are probably the 2 best quarterbacks that I've ever watched play football. Like I wouldn't even put any of these other quarterbacks in the same stratosphere. But they're great quarterbacks.
But are they top 5 quarterbacks?
They're top 5 quarterbacks, but my point,
it doesn't matter if they're the greatest all time. Are they top 5 quarterbacks?
My point is this: I think people put too much emphasis on whether Daniel Jones is a top 10, top 5, top 15. Who really gives a fuck where he's ranked? Because newsflash, Eli Manning was never a top 10 quarterback or ranked a top 10 quarterback, yet he won 2 Super Bowls and 2 Super Bowl MVPs, and he was never considered a top 10 quarterback.
I would disagree. I would consider
maybe fans would.
He was, and there was rankings even after his 2011 Super Bowl had him as a top 10 quarterback. I had anywhere between 2008 and going into 2012. Eli Manning was probably a top 10 quarterback.
I'm just saying, when it comes down to it, I think we emphasize too much on whether I think fans in particular, right?
But you go,
and I'm not coming at anybody specifically, but I'm just bringing up people in the chat.
Go back to 2009. Big Ben, top 10 quarterback. Drew Brees, top 10 quarterback. Aaron Rodgers, top 10 quarterback. Eli Manning in 2012, top 10 quarterback. Then you get into Baltimore. Was Flacco a top 10? No. But then you also get into next year, Russell Wilson, top 10. You go into the next year. Tom Brady, top 10. You could then go into Denver. Was Peyton Manning a top 10 quarterback back then? No, but they still won. Then you go back into again.
I said top 5 though. I said top 5.
You said top 5. You said top 10 or top 5.
Well, that's because people are bringing up like top 5, saying he's top 10. Okay, I'll give you another example. Perfect example. You could argue over how many years has Aaron Rodgers been playing? Aaron Rodgers is going into his 14th season, 15th season, right?
How many years did it take Peyton Manning to win a Super Bowl?
But my point is this. Okay, the Packers themselves as an organization had 30 years of, you could argue, top 3 quarterback play and have 2 Super Bowl rings to show for it, right? There was a time where Aaron Rodgers was the best quarterback in football, or people made that argument was the best quarterback in football or the second best quarterback in football. They did a lot of winning, but they never won the games that mattered, which was in the playoffs or making it to the Super Bowl. So my point is this: who gives a fuck whether Daniel Jones is top 5, top 10, top 15? I don't fucking care if he is or not. But if we're winning games and we're winning a Super Bowl, who gives a fuck if you're top 15 or top 10? You won the Super Bowl.
Because NFL history shows you that the majority of these Super Bowls are won by people that are top 10 quarterbacks. That's why people want him to be, because that's just NFL history. I mean, you have to start going back into the 80s and the 90s before you can go to guys that were not superstar quarterbacks. But in the modern day NFL, if you look over the last 10 years, it is top 10 quarterbacks who have taken their teams and won Super Bowls. The quarterback position is put on a premium for a reason. Because if you take a look, those are the guys winning the Super Bowls.
But the guys that have been to the Super Bowls for the most part and that have been winning it is either Mahomes or Brady.
We just went all the way back to 2009.
Okay, so 2009, Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning was the top 10 quarterback that first year. That is his first Super Bowl win in Denver. He was a top 10. He threw for over 5,000 yards and 50-something touchdowns.
But the majority of the teams or quarterbacks that were in, Tom Brady's been to 10 Super Bowls.
But you look at it, you got Big Ben, you got Breeze, you got Rodgers, you have Russell Wilson, you have Manning, you have Brady, you have the fluke known as Nick Foles. Again, you have Brady, you have Mahomes, you have Brady, you have Bradford, and then you have Mahomes. They're all top 5 quarterbacks. And I'm just saying,
Bradford never went to the Super Bowl.
Sam Bradford? Not Sam Bradford. What's his name? I keep thinking Sam Bradford because of
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. Thank you. Matthew Stafford. All top 10 quarterbacks. All top 5 quarterbacks.
Matthew Stafford, I don't think is a top. Maybe he was top 5 that year, but he was a top 10 quarterback overall. But
he's a top 10 quarterback though. So this is why people are saying they want Daniel Jones to be a top.
But what I'm saying is, when you look at that,
I love how you prove your own points.
I'm not proving my own point. The majority of the names that you said there, Mahomes has been to 3, Brady's been to 10. Now, yes, you have some outliers like Nick Foles, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, but the majority of those games in the Super Bowl, Tom Brady was there, and now it's Patrick Mahomes. Arguably the two, from me, and I think a lot of people would agree, probably the 2 best quarterbacks that they've watched play. So when you look at consistently over the course of time, since Brady's been in the league, how many quarterbacks that were top 10 made it and won the Super Bowl that is not named Brady or Mahomes? That were not the consensus number 1 quarterback.
Okay, here we go. Aikman, Young.
I'm talking about since Tom Brady came into the league.
No, I'm doing since Tom Brady, before Tom Brady came into the league. Aikman. Here we go. Aikman, Young, Aikman, Aaron Rodgers, Elway. And then we sit there and we look at Kurt Warner, who was a top 10. And then you have the Baltimore fluke. And then you have Brady. So all these other guys that came in before, like 7-8 years before even.
Wasn't Aikman at that time a top 3 quarterback?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a top 3 quarterback.
Okay, so would you say that Aikman and Young at that time was who was the number 1 quarterback at that time? Elway?
Well, it depends on how you look at it positionally in reference to stats and stuff, but I would say anywhere between Young, Aikman, Montana, because you got to remember Young and Montana at one point were trading off because of what they were doing, and then you still had Brett Favre back there. You had a lot of guys that were top 10 quarterbacks, but these are guys that are top 5 quarterbacks that won Super Bowls going back before Brady.
My point is. My point is this. You have guys that were probably in Steve Young and Troy Aikman at that time were probably 2-3 or the top 2 quarterbacks in the league. Then you have Marino, like what Dash is saying. Marino was probably one of the best quarterbacks to play the game, never won a Super Bowl. Okay. Ben Roethlisberger, his first 2 Super Bowls that he went to, his first Super Bowl when he was a rookie, he was a rookie, right? He was a rookie, didn't win anything, didn't win it as a rookie. Okay. It wasn't a rookie. It was like his second year in the league. They went to the Super Bowl. He wasn't the best quarterback in football. It was his second year in the league. Now, you could say maybe he was top 5 when they went the second time against and won against the you could say he's top 5 the 2 other times when he went against Arizona and he won, and then they went against Green Bay and they lost. You could say he was top 5. But the majority of the quarterbacks that have won the Super Bowl are either Tom Brady. I'm just going over the last 15 years. Is Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. You have outliers in there like the Nick Foles, like the Matthew Staffords, right?
The Big Ben.
You have the outliers in there, but it's really
Mannings, like the Russell Wilsons.
The consensus
Drew
is like,
Brees.
but Drew Brees is another perfect one. Drew Brees was a top 2 quarterback and only won 1 Super Bowl.
But
he's only been to 1 Super Bowl.
But the quarterback itself is what I'm saying is you have to get to the Super Bowl to win the Super Bowl. If you take a look going back all the way to 19, if we go back to 19, hell, if we go back to I'll keep going here. If you go back to 88 and the Washington Doug Williams Super Bowl, majority of these people that won Super Bowls were top 5 quarterbacks. And that's why I think Giant fans want Daniel Jones to be a top 5 quarterback.
And listen, and that's fine. If you want Daniel Jones to be a top 5 quarterback, that's fine. Newsflash. I have a good amount of friends that are Green Bay Packers fans. And yeah, they loved watching Aaron Rodgers, but they were so happy to let him go because, one, you have 30 years to show of top 3 quarterback play, and you've only got 2 Super Bowl rings to show for it over 30 years. If Daniel Jones was a top 5 quarterback in this league and he played for 15 seasons and we only won 1 Super Bowl, but he was a top 5 quarterback, does it matter? I think people more or less would care more about just to be able to say that DJ is a top 5 quarterback rather than winning fucking championships. Like newsflash, like I don't give a fuck. I don't really personally care. I get what the stats say. I don't give a fuck if Daniel's top 5, top 10. If he's winning championships, great. If we're in the Super Bowl and he wins 2 championships and he was 12, I'm good with that. But like, do you guys want to have a guy that you could say is top 5 and you got 1 ring to show for it over 15 years?
I actually think you're giving a disservice to the fan base. I think the fan base, and I think a lot of the fan base, who I pick on a lot of times for not knowing football, understand that the majority of Super Bowls, no matter what the names are won by quarterbacks whose names are in the top 5 ranking. And I think, and you could, there's a lot of great players that never won Super Bowls. Is it their fault, or was it because of their entire team's fault for their career? So at the end of the day, I think, fans saying they want Daniel Jones to be a top 5 quarterback are just saying, listen, if he's a top 5 quarterback, our percentages of going to a Super Bowl and winning our Super Bowl are a hell of a lot better if he's sitting at top 15. Because if he's a top 15 quarterback, we better have a we better have a first or second ranked defense. Because there's no way because if you take a look at the quarterbacks who were not top quarterbacks that won, it's also because of the fact that they had defenses that were ranked number 1 in the league. You go back to Brad Johnson, you go back to Trent Dilfer. These are guys that had defenses that some can consider in the top 5 of the annals, or top 10 of the annals of greatest defenses in NFL history. So I think that the fan base wanting Daniel Jones to be a top 5 quarterback proves that they understand that your percentages are going to go extremely high to win a Super Bowl and to win a championship if Daniel Jones is in that name, as in that conversation, as being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Let's get into a lot of these. Well, hold on. I'm so far behind. I got to get Eliza and I got to get out of here. Big Dash said, Tim, I agree. The secondary is going to be big in this game. Let's see. Razzle the Great says, this is going to be the key to shut the run down and put it all on Dak. James says, Dallas is way more talented than us. Coaching only gets you so far in professional sports without talent. See Tom Brady. Or should see the Patriots out Tom Brady. Dash also says pocket has to be pushed and the edges got to get home fast to help these young guys. Oh, I agree 100%. Ronnie says, bingo, Tim, the corners get cooked big time by Lamb and Cooks. Very, very possible. I'm not saying that they're not. I'm not saying they are going to get cooked. They may not. You could have Hawkins and Banks could turn in a performance of the ages, against Dallas, because it's week 1. You never know what's going to happen. They could be, they could be these shutdown guys. It might be for a game, but they could be these shutdown guys that we have that the NFL has never seen before. So, like I said, I don't, but it is possible that they could get a little bit, they could get a little bit roasted and toasted. Let's see. Strider says it was a but we took an L. There's some problems. So let's see. Anthony says 3.5 points. That's what they are. Not 5.5, Rob. They're 3.5 point favorites on the openings. Zagatet says, I hope West Virginia goes 1-6. There's a reason behind that, but we're not going to get into that. Todd Taylor says Kurt Warner said the O is simplified for Jones and the fans lost their shit on him. Kurt Warner is given a lot of good assessments on Daniel Jones. And he did a great video about a year ago on Daniel Jones. And I think, to Kurt Warner's point, I think the Giants have simplified the offensive situation for Daniel Jones, especially last year. Like I said, it was play action rollout. I don't know how many times they ran that play. But this year's got to be something totally different. Tim, I expect DJ to be stretching the field more this season, but I think our offense will run more crossing routes to confuse our opponents. All right. Let's see. Jimmy says he's already a top 15, and he's not. Daniel Jones is not a top 15 quarterback yet. We'll see what he does this season before we start anointing him. Mark Price says, but Captain Tim, don't see any of that. But Captain, I don't know what that was about. Let's see here. I'm trying to get so many of this. Just dumping it off can still win games. Just dumping it off can still win games if you have a championship defense. I don't know what our defense is yet. Jones right now is between 10 and 12. I think I would rank Jones right now between 15 and 17. Let's see here. Justin Herbert makes his team better. Daniel Jones doesn't. We don't know that yet. We have to kind of wait and see. Yeah, Sam Bradford. I had Sam Bradford on the brain because I actually watched the special on Sam Bradford the other day. He's a Native American as well, Sam Bradford. And it was a big special on him about how he changed how the rookie pay scale, how the change in the rookie pay scale came about was because of Sam Bradford. And because that stupidly massive contract that he got and how he underperformed and how the basically the veterans there was an uprising in the veterans and they changed the entire salary cap system for rookies because of Sam Bradford. 2011, Eli had an MVP. The season that Cam Newton won the MVP, I still think Eli Manning should have been into top 3 consideration for that season, but Cam had more rushing yardages. I'm not even going to, Mark, if you're going to say something stupid, I'm not even going to look at you. Nick Foles, Sam, Matthew Stafford, never Smith the top. Matthew Stafford again. Mark, you're saying stupid shit, and you're gonna go sit in timeout for a little bit. Let's see here. What does Douglas have to say? I got to get back to work. I hope everyone has a good one. Dash says, I don't care if DJ is a top 5. Honestly, either. I just want him to win. Period. I just want him to win. Period too. But I think people understand the fact that if you have a top 5 quarterback, your percentages of winning the Super Bowl are a lot better. They go up. We got one from RZeroB. It said, hey, Mark, whenever your viewers, thanks for the support. You're welcome to leave anytime if you're not entertained. Oh, I saw the guy writing the Z. Whatever. I don't care what people think. Jimmy says Daniel Jones is the top 15 quarterback, but hey, if you disagree with it, so be. I'm not saying he's not a top 15 quarterback, but I'm saying we haven't taken a snap yet. Let's just take a snap on the field, and now we caught up on all what's going on. We're gonna do some predictions here, Rob, because I don't know if we're gonna be able to get together on Sunday, because I'm also gonna be I gotta be at the game at 3:15. The game doesn't start kickoff till 8. I gotta be there at 3:15. Right when the parking lot opens. Jesus. So yeah, well, to do the flag ceremony, you have practice. You got to go out and practice. So we have to be practice. We're talking about practice.
We're talking about practice, man.
I've done this flag thing now. I did it 7 times last year. I'm going to do it again this year. I don't need no practice, but you have to be there at 3:15. So if we don't have chance to talk, and maybe you will be on with Pest next week, and I'll drop in. If we're given a prediction for this game, my prediction, pain. If you're given a prediction, we're looking 3:15 p.m. The game starts at 8, but I got to be there at 3:15 p.m. Gates open up at 3:45. I got to be there before the fucking gates open. But if you're giving a prediction, Rob, what is it going to be? Prime time, the most important game in Giant history is next Sunday. What's your prediction?
Giants win 28-24.
And how do they win this game? What's the feel of the game? How is this? Is it a blowout? Is Dallas coming back? Is this a nail biter? Is this a last play drive?
I think it's a back and forth. And at the end of the game, I think it's to get us to 28. I think that we get like a big defensive turnover, like an Isaiah Simmons strip sack recovered by Kayvon, and we throw a touchdown pass to Waller in the end zone to go up 28-24. We're down 24-21.
Someone just DM'd me on Twitter. Are we going to be doing the Super Bowl ring giveaway this year? I don't know if you're familiar, Rob. Every year for the last 2 years, we've given away we've done a guess the score thing every Sunday, and the winner gets a Eli Manning replica Super Bowl ring. And I don't know if I have any. Hold on. Unless you want an Andre the Giant Bigfoot. I don't know. I don't know if I have more. I don't know if I have any more rings, guys. I don't think I have any more rings. I will do this. I will see if I can't get some more Super Bowl rings. And then, yes, we will do a guess the score prediction like we did all last year. And see. I thought I had one left over. I guess I don't. Don't mind me. You could have an Admiral Akbar. I mean, I got that I can give you. Or do you want a Black Rifle coffee pin? I mean, coin. What don't I have? Or I could give away Tapatia. I don't know if that helps you any. We'll see. We'll see. I don't have any rings in stock right now. If I do get some rings, we will do the score giveaway. So I see people are putting their scores already in the chat. But we will do that if I can find some rings. Yes, we will do that. I'm thinking Giants take this game 21-17. And I think the Giants are going to come up with a drive in the fourth quarter. And I think the Giants are going to figure out a way to stifle the vaunted passing attack of the Dallas Cowboys. But I think it's gonna be one of those games that you come out and the first half is gonna be like 10-6. It's going to be really low scoring in the first half. It's going to be the typical Giants Dallas Cowboys defensive battle, and then it's going to open a little bit up in the second half. But I think Wink's defense is going to do something that is going to put the Giants in position late in the fourth quarter to come, drive in for a touchdown and take this one. We got a lot of people. Let's just give a lot of people their scores real quick. So I see a lot of people are putting up their scores, and we're going to figure it out. Big Dash says it's going to be 28-20 Giants. Anthony says 31-17. That's always a good score. We got the Rover coming in at 31-24. We got Shredder coming in at 31-24 as well. Joe Rev, raffle the hat. No, you can't have the hat. Can't have the hat. We also have coming in at 17-14. We got Big James Williams coming in saying it's gonna be 31-28 38-21 Cowgirls. We have to just wait and see, guys. We got almost up to 60 likes, and I appreciate that, guys. So make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Rob, since we may not be here next week, or you may not be here next week, do you have anything else that you would like to add before we get ready to sign off here?
No, not at all. I mean, I hope that you guys enjoyed the game on Thursday. I'm gonna definitely try to be watching it while on the road. On the road again. And I hope that you guys enjoy the slate of games on Sunday. Stay safe. If you guys are going out, driving, going to bars, stuff like that, please don't drink and drive. Enjoy yourselves, but be safe and be careful. And you know what? Haters are going to hate, but players are going to play. And we love haters because
we're just going to shake it off.
We're just going to shake it off, baby.
I am going to tell you this. I found a giveaway. I'm going to do a stream maybe later in the week, like maybe a Thursday or a Friday night. And we're going to do a guess the score. And we're going to be giving away, I thought this was actually kind of nice, an actual official 1986 New York Giants Super Bowl patch. This is an actual Super Bowl patch from the game. So we're gonna be giving it until I can get a ring. We're gonna give away the Super Bowl patch to whoever gets the score correct. And last year we only had out of 17 weeks. Last year we only had 2 winners. So hopefully this year we're gonna get a bunch of winners because you know what? In this kinder, gentler world, we're all winners. Just remember that. There's no winners. There's no losers. The wind plays the rain in soccer, and when we all tie, it's just the way we do. You're all a winner in my heart.
Hit me with the music, Tim.
We got to get Swing Culture TVs in here. 24-21 Giants. We also get Lamar in here real quick. 28-13 G-Men. Moet says, I might be wrong. I see us winning by double-digit points. The house is going to be rocking. Peace out, fellas. Let's go. Last one, take them to be gentler with DJ lovers out there. You know how sensitive they are. Just kidding. Tell it as. Listen, I'm never going to change. Sorry, guys. If you I love it when people meet me in person because they say, you know what's funny? You are the exact same person on the mic than you are when I see you. I'm not going to change. It's just me. So love me, hate me. I love everyone. Because you want to know why? This is Tim. This is RZeroB bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk entertainment. We're going to be out here. Hope to see everyone on Sunday. And there may be a live stream coming out around here somewhere. I see Tyrone in his house as well. Tyrone, we're going to give you the last comment. So I haven't seen Tyrone in a while. And you know what, guys? We are out of here. Peace.